Welcome to this rainy day worship service at the Unitarian Universalist congregation at Shelter Rock. I welcome all of you here to the worship room, and I welcome those who are watching from home, as we still have online and Zoom capabilities. And we are one whole community, both here in person and elsewhere. All are welcome. I'm the Reverend Dr. Natalie Fenimore, and I minister here to this congregation with the Reverend David Carl Olson, the Reverend Israel Bufardi, and our lovely student minister, Dana Moore. Here we seek to create loving religious community, encourage spiritual growth, and build a more just and joyful world. We seek to restore the balance of our spirits, to celebrate the joys of life, and together to find the strength to meet our sorrows. Unitarian Universalism is a religious tradition which embraces the wisdom found in all faiths and values diversity. We believe in using science, reason, and the many gifts of the Spirit to explore life's meaning and its many mysteries. We believe that we need not think alike to love alike. We remember that this bountiful land on which our buildings are now situated is the ancestral land of the Matancock peoples of Manhasset Bay. We honor and continue their stewardship of this land. Today, we have with us our guest minister, the Reverend Mary Katherine Morn. Yay. Mary Katherine is president of the Unitarian Universalist Service Committee, the UUSC. The UUSC is an independent human rights and social justice organization, and it is affiliated with but independent of the Unitarian Universalist Association. We all work together for the common purpose of taking Unitarian Universalist principles and values out into the world. UUSC works with over 50 partners in over 20 countries around the world, and it has 3 focus areas: climate justice, migration, and disaster justice. Mary Katherine serves as its president and lead executive officer since 2018, and she has over 30 years in faith-based leadership including decades leading Unitarian Universalist congregations, primarily in the South. I have the privilege of working with Mary Katherine when she was lead minister at the UU congregation in Fairfax, Virginia. And I can say that it was a joy and a pleasure. And also, I want to say to you what it is like to be a minister in Unitarian Universalism in the South. It's different than being a minister in Unitarian Universalism on Long Island. And it's wonderful that we have these congregations in areas which are not always aligned completely with what we want to accomplish as Unitarian Universalists. But Mary Katherine is one of those people who's committed to spreading that word, to opening up who we are, to letting people know that everyone is welcome and that we can all learn to speak that common language of love. So here, we also want to be welcoming and invitational and to give that common message of love. So I invite you to join us for these activities and events and programs which are happening here over the next week. On Thursday, which is the first night of Hanukkah, we will gather here in the worship room at 6 p.m. and we'll reflect on what Hanukkah meaning and memories are for members of this congregation. And then at 7, there's a holiday celebration led by the Food and Water Watch group, which is part of our Green Sanctuary. And then on Friday, we have Soulful Sundown Worship in the social hall at 7:30. And then I want to tell you that we will have, after the service, today, our holiday decorations party, craft party for our RE families in the social hall, as well as you have an opportunity to do play reading, also at 12:30. I know that these things are actually not in conflict and can work together. And I also want you to know that next Sunday, we are going to have Messiah Sing, a glorious music program, open to the community. Please come early. It's often hard to find a seat, and I know you want to be right up front. So that's at 2 o'clock next Sunday. And there's more. After service today, as usual, we will have lunch. Our lunch is for a small fee, but if you are a guest today, please know that you are our guest and there is no fee. Come for lunch. And while you're having your lunch, if you find it's taking you a little bit longer, pick your lunch up, come into the art gallery where Reverend Morn will be present to talk to you more about the Unitarian Universalist Service Committees and its programs and initiatives. So, as you can see, we have many things for you to do. But we don't tell you that in order to overwhelm you. We just let you know that there are many things. Pick what calls to your heart and fully engage in that moment. Know that you are here in the company of friends and fellow travelers. Take an opportunity to sit with them and enjoy the afternoon. And so, I say now, let us worship together.
Thank you, Natalie. Thank you. It's a joy to be here in this incredibly busy and very vibrant community. I'm so glad to be with you. For our opening words this morning, I offer a piece from Colorado poet, native poet Rosemary Watoller Tromer. It's entitled For When People Ask. You know, those moments just in passing, it seems so casual and someone asks you how you are. For when people ask. I want a word that means okay and not okay. More than that, a word that means devastated and stunned by joy. I want the word that says I feel it all at once. The heart is not like a songbird singing only one note at a time, more like a Tuvan throat singer, able to sing both a drone and simultaneously 2 or 3 harmonics high above it, a sound, the Tuvans say, that gives the impression of wind swirling among rocks. The heart understands swirl, how the churning of opposite feelings weaves through us like an insistent breeze, leads us wordlessly deeper into ourselves, blesses us with paradox, so we might walk more openly into this world, so rife with devastation, this world so ripe with joy. And so this morning, we come together in worship, acknowledging this precious world in all of its devastation, in all of its joy.
Please rise in body or spirit to sing our opening hymn, number 140, Hail the Glorious Golden City. Please remain standing for our words and song of affirmation. Love is the doctrine of this congregation. The quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge and freedom, to serve human need, this to be a firm and covenant with each other. Thank you. Please be seated. Each time we gather for worship, we take an offering. It is a collection from our hearts. It is a collection which shows that we are grateful for what we have and also willing to share with others. It is a mystery, the way in which we are connected to others and their needs. How one little act of ours could change so many things for people. One passing smile, one gift of a meal could change a person's entire life and yours as well in the giving. As food insecurity continues to expand, even here in the United States, even in the most prosperous country in the world, perhaps the most prosperous nation in all of history, here, people are hungry. Here, people, children, grow hungry. And so this worship service offering during this holiday season will benefit the North Shore Soup Kitchen and the AIDS Center for Queens County, ACQC. The North Shore Soup Kitchen is a volunteer-based organization feeding hungry people in the Glen Cove area. UUCSR has supported the North Shore Soup Kitchen since its inception in 1989. The AIDS Center of Queens County is the largest provider of HIV/AIDS services in Queens, serving over 10,000 HIV plus clients and 30,000 community residents in 5 sites throughout the borough. These are our neighbors and our friends, and what we give now supports them, helps them to lead a better life, helps them perhaps just to sleep a quiet night without a hungry belly. This could be the greatest gift which you give in this season. Please give generously. Please see the slides for ways in which you can give. Thank you. I now invite you into a time of silence, meditation, and prayer. Settle into your body. Breathe deeply inside. Breathe. Roll it inside you and let it come out slowly. Know that there are others around you. Feel the care of this community hold you. Let it hold you because you need to be held. You need to be held because our world is on fire. War. Rumors of war, hateful acts every day, You feel anger, fear, helplessness, deep grief. Deep grief pushes against our hearts and pulls us down, down, down into deep sorrow. Breathe. Your sadness is real, is justified. We are sad, and as sad as it is, as painful as it is in this moment, remember that that sadness, that anger, that grief, that fear actually comes because you do still feel connected to other human beings. You do still have the capacity to care, to love other human beings. To love those in Israel, to love those in Gaza, to love those in Ukraine, in Sudan, to love migrants and refugees and hostages. We do have that capacity. The capacity to continue to love. Know that you have that capacity. And we build that capacity here in community together. That capacity to continue to love. Would it hurt so much if you did not care? In this time of Hanukkah and Advent, may we find hope in these stories of persistence, of commitment, and of longing for what is best in life. May we continue to come together to pray and to work in hope, in love, for peace. May it be so. Amen. Please rise in body or spirit to sing hymn number 146, Soon the Day Will Arrive.
For our reading this morning, Natalie, my dear friend and wonderful colleague Natalie, and I will read a poem by Aurora Levins Morales entitled Vahavta. And I just want to say a quick word about Vahavta. Vahavta is a traditional Hebrew prayer, a prayer that appears in the Hebrew scriptures for the most basic of acts, loving God, and a reminder that it is at every moment in our day that we must repeat for ourselves our love of God, our faith. Morales takes this kind of formula, this formulation, and integrates it into this beautiful poem that is about our work to faithfully imagine and build a new world. Vahavta.
Say these words when you lie down and when you rise up, and when you go out and when you return, in times of mourning and in times of joy. Inscribe them on your doorposts, embroider them in your garments, tattoo them on your shoulders, teach them to your children, your neighbors, your enemies. Recite them in your sleep. Here, in the cruel shadow of empire, another world is possible.
Another world is possible. Thus spoke the prophet Roque Dalton.
Altogether, they have more death than we, but altogether we have more life than they.
There is more bloody death in their hands than we could ever wield unless we lay down our souls to become them, and then we lose everything. So instead, imagine winning. This is your sacred task.
This is your power.
Imagine every detail of winning, the exact smell of the summer streets in which no one has been shot. The muscles you never unclenched from worry gone soft as newborn skin. The sparkling taste of food when we know that no one on earth is hungry. That the beggars are fed, that the old man under the bridge and the woman wrapping herself in sheets in the back seat of a car, and the children who suck on stones nest under a flock of roofs that keep multiplying their shelter.
Lean with all your being towards that day, when the poor of the world shake down a rain of good fortune out of heavy clouds, and justice rolls down like waters. Defend the world in which we win as if it were your child.
It is your child.
Defend it as if it were your lover.
It is your lover. When you inhale and when you exhale, breathe the possibility of another world into the 37.2 billion cells of your body until it shines with hope. Then imagine more.
Imagine rape is unimaginable. Imagine war is a scarcely credible rumor, that crimes of our age, the grotesque inhumanities of greed, the sheer and astonishment, shamelessness of it all, the vast fortunes made by stealing lives, the horrible normalcy it came to have, it is unimaginable to our heirs, the generations of the free.
Don't waver.
Don't let despair sink its sharp teeth into the throat with which you sing.
Escalate your dreams. Make them burn so fiercely that you can follow them down any dark alleyway of history and not lose your way.
Make them burn clear as a starry drinking gourd over the grim fog of exhaustion, and keep walking. Hold hands.
Share water.
Keep imagining.
So that we and the children of our children's children may live. I invite you to take a moment with me with this beautiful musical prayer resounding in this sanctuary and online, so that we may join our hearts in a prayer for another world, in a meditation for peace, and in a vow of love and justice. Today, may we hold in care especially people impacted by violence in Israel and Gaza, and all those impacted by anti-Semitism and Islamophobia. Amen. We need miracle stories. That would be a good time for an amen. Amen. Thank you. We need miracle stories like the Hanukkah story that root us in a history of liberation. We need poetry that calls us to remember that another world is possible. And we need this blessed gathering here in this room and beyond that challenges us to do what we can, each of us, to help bring that world, that peace, into being. I am grateful to share this time with you for this sacred purpose. Two elements that I believe make the mystery and the miracle possible: faithful imagination and radical loving connection or kinship, a recognition, a remembering that we are one family, that we share one living planet. In July, I had the privilege of visiting UUSC partners in Poland who are responding to the crisis there. In Krakow, we met Nastya. Her organization provides holistic, informational, legal, psychological, and emergency support to Ukrainian evacuees who are facing sexual violence, human trafficking, the need for reproductive health care, including abortion care, and emergency contraception. Nastya shared a number of stories about young girls and women that her organization had supported in the last, it had been about 15 months since the invasion. But even more than those stories, I was deeply moved by the origin story of Nastya's organization, Martinka. When the war broke out, Nastya was already outside of her home in Ukraine, in Krakow, Poland, studying at the university there. And so she was able, from this place of safety, to provide immediate and direct support to members of her family who were needing help evacuating. When all of her family was safe, including her niece, Martinka, for whom the organization is named, Nastya realized that that really wasn't all that she longed to do. What she really longed for was that all of the people in need of support in Ukraine knew that they had family outside of the country who could help. She wanted all of the people in need of support to understand that we are part of one family and we will help one another. In this way, this foundational principle of our connection, our oneness with each other, is the basis of Nastya's organization. But there is also a lot of faithful imagination involved. Nastya actually has won, about a year into the war, she won a Moonshot Award for her incredibly inventive and creative technology that goes with her organization that allows women, even women who are in immediate danger with men who may be holding them under control. Her technology actually makes it possible for many of them to reach out for help safely. And for this, she was recognized with an award. Another important opportunity for us to support our partners responding to the war in Ukraine came only about 6 months after the invasion. Our program officers at UUSC heard from some of the leaders of the organizations we were partnering with, about 10 organizations in all, and many of them were reporting exhaustion and really, I just hesitate to even use that word. It doesn't convey the depth of their holding on just barely to being able to still do the work they were doing. And so they asked if we could help with a small grant, support a time for some of these activists to rest and connect in the midst of all of this violence and trauma. We were very glad to be part of a week where feminist organizers gathered, creating connections, imagining new action, and yes, resting. We've heard from some of our partners that this time of rest and connection is part of what's made it possible for them to keep going. It gave them a moment in that okay and not okay truth to hold both the devastation and the joy. I share this glimpse from UUSC's work in our world. I believe it's important for us to hold in our community care, in love, with them, with people around the world who are working for justice, but also here, to hold both the unthinkable losses that are happening every single day and the remarkable healing and hope, the beauty that is born in courageous connection and commitment to justice, which is not unlike what we do when we gather every week. Within the container of faith community, we gather to rest from the relentless, pounding, sometimes real, sometimes manufactured demands of our days. So for this hour, we stop. And by doing so, we are saying that taking time for connection and meaning making and promise making, that this really matters. We are here together, okay and not okay, holding one another in the midst of unthinkable losses. And we remember together the joy and beauty that is always present, even if on some days it's barely on the edge of our vision. In this way, we hold ourselves accountable and call ourselves back again to our shared work for justice, to the great work of love. I'm grateful to Natalie for the prayer she shared, that the meditation that reminded us that we are capable of this great love. The great work of love is as good a way as any I can think of to describe the mission and the work that we do at UUSC. And what has been a hallmark of UUSC's long and faithful history of justice building. I give thanks for all of those through the decades who have worked at creating connection and healing in our human family and who dare to imagine a new world. And among those I am thankful for, and you are among those I am thankful for. Those of you who are members and supporters Each and every one of you is a treasure to us. And of course, I give thanks for this congregation, for your support over the years. And especially this morning, I want to say thank you for your support about a year and a half ago that really helped move us into our deep work that is happening in response to the war in Ukraine. Your emergency grant was a tremendous support to us in this. But again, I do want to thank individual members. There are about 12% of you who are members of UUSC, and we hope that this morning some of you will be inspired who haven't been members or who haven't lately been members of UUSC. We would love to have you join us in conversation, in advocacy, in supporting our partners around the world. As many of you know, we think of our work at UUSC as eye-to-eye partnership. Our grounding in Unitarian Universalist principles and values reminds us that connection, kinship, is a fundamental drive for the vision of justice and human rights. We are part of one human family. We share one living planet. We belong to each other, each and all. This theory of change says a great deal about our understanding, as you use, I think, of what it means to be human. Many threads of religious thought describe the importance of authentic, loving relationships, but one that I really appreciate and that has been meaningful for me is the thought of Martin Buber. Some of you may be aware of Buber's formulation of I and thou relationships. Martin Buber is a Jewish scholar, and he distinguishes a particular kind of connection that is a radical, loving, healing connection from the ordinary, often accidental connections that happen when we objectify one another. When I meet you, he says, as thou, I welcome you as a subjective other, worthy and whole in your own right, recognizing the holy within you. When I meet you as it, I am preoccupied by what you are to me, and thereby unable to really see you at all, not to mention to find a loving connection. Relationship with an I and it is instrumental, it's extractive, whereas a relationship, fully loving connection is characterized by Buber as I and thou. I really find this distinction useful, and I know in my own life I often have to make amends when I'm thoughtless, when I'm not paying attention, or when I'm being selfish and I meet someone in that objectifying way. But really this morning, I'm interested in the more systemic ways that we disconnect and enter into that kind of objective relationship that fundamentally keeps us disconnected, forgetting our kinship, that we all and each of us have worth, that we all belong, and that we only thrive when we thrive together. Political theorist Brian Stout has written in his blog, Building Belonging, all domination systems, some of them are called, they have many names, white supremacy, patriarchy, colonialism, extractive capitalism. All domination systems depend on three things to maintain their power. First, disconnecting ourselves from our bodies. Second, disconnecting us from each other and community. And finally, disconnecting us from land and other living beings. And his important message is that once we are disconnected and disengaged, we resign ourselves to powerlessness. When we disengage and isolate ourselves, in fact, we are powerless. When we forget our connections, abandon the possibility of another world, and fall into cynicism and despair, we are playing into the hands of the people with power. Our perception of our own powerlessness is exactly what empire is depending upon to survive. UUSC's partners consistently and stubbornly claim their power and reject the notion that there is little that we can do. One of my favorite stories of power and claiming our power and creating those connections comes from our partners, the Pacific Island students fighting climate change. Young people in the Pacific Islands, indigenous people whose homes and livelihoods and identities are at tremendous risk. Some of them are in immediate danger from rising water and saltwater encroachment, but make no mistake, as they repeatedly affirm, we are not drowning, we are fighting. A group of, in their environmental law classroom at the University of the South Pacific, 27 students were given the assignment to imagine the most progressive and ambitious climate change action that they could take in the international legal sphere. They researched previous actions and campaigns and decided that the United Nations General Assembly, all 27 of them decided this, that the UN General Assembly should direct the International Court of Justice to create an advisory opinion on the human rights impact of climate change and the obligations of states to protect people from past and future harm. They took their proposal to the Pacific Island Forum and essentially got a nod and a congratulations, I don't know, maybe an A. But this was not an idle exercise for them. They wanted nothing less than a vote of the United Nations General Assembly. So they formed Pacific Island Students Fighting Climate Change. UUSC is honored to have been one of the Pacific Island students' very first funders. When they visited with us in Boston a year ago in October, campaign leaders Vishal and Solomon told us that a really pivotal moment in their campaign came in 2019 when UUSC provided funding for their leaders to attend the Conference of Partners that was happening that year. And it was at that meeting where they were able to make connections with large NGOs who signed on to their campaign, and they were off. UUSC has also provided assistance with UN credentials and housing in New York during the most intense period of the campaign. I really love the way being a small organization can help us move quickly and provide support that other organizations might not think as important. With the sponsorship of the nation of Vanuatu, the students took their proposal to the world and ultimately received the support of over 120 nations, almost 2/3 of the member nations of the General Assembly. I cannot imagine a group of people farther from the places we imagine power lives, or a dream more outrageous. But in March of this year, the General Assembly voted by unanimous consent to adopt the students' proposal. Today, Vishal and other leaders of Pacific Island students, along with 9 other UUSC partners, are meeting in Dubai right now. UUSC staff, Rachel Freed and Salote Sonko, are there meeting with our partners, providing support for their programming. There's a lot of work still to be done on the Pacific Island Student Project and on much of the work that our partners are doing for climate change. UUSC is facilitating pastoral care for attendees at the first ever Faith Pavilion at the Climate Conference. We're discussing loss and damage with partners from the Pacific, as well as participating in the Gender and Climate Caucus and the Indigenous Caucus. As you read the news over these next 2 weeks, I'm sure some of it will be discouraging, some of it will be hope-filled. Please send your good wishes to our dear partners who are working for their lives. Around the world, with your support, UUSC partners with grassroots organization to challenge the systems that force us into extractive relationships with each other and with our planet. In rejecting the notion that there is no other way, there is little we can do, feminist activists in Poland, the Pacific Students grassroots groups in Burma, feminist farmers in Nicaragua, land and water defenders in Honduras, and many others are building healing connection and regenerative economies so that all may survive, so that all may thrive. So many of the systems that order our lives, politically, economically, and socially, are powered by racism, by patriarchy, by extractive capitalism, all tools of alienation and oppression. And we can resist these systems. Our resistance can take the form of organizing. It can take the form of providing food to people who are food insecure. It can take the form of supporting human rights by joining UUSC, by learning about racist systems and committing to the work of anti-racism. It can take the form of working for peace, even providing someone a safe place to sleep. I list some of the ways that I am aware you, in this congregation, here in Long Island, are resisting the systems that keep us disconnected and building healing connections that are our only hope for a just world. Every day we wake to some new glimpse of our world rife with devastation. May we hold each other tenderly in this truth and commit again to our part in the mutual healing connections for justice. And may we also attend to and hold as precious all the beauty and joy that is also right here, every day. And may our candles burn until there is justice, so that there may be peace. Please rise in body or spirit, and we will sing together, Light One Candle.
Light
Our world rife with devastation. This is our world ripe with joy. May our work for justice and healing for our human family create a new way, another world, so that all may know joy, so that all will know peace. May our lives be a blessing. Go in peace.